G'day Eagles fans and welcome to this week's episode of the Inside Swoop, courtesy of Jim Beam. Scully, welcome to the desk once more.
Hello, mate.
You were there at the fire that was the Swans game.
Yes.
In the stands. It turned out to be the fourth biggest defeat in AFL history. Don't know how long you think the AFL's been going for. It's a pretty long time.
Yes.
And biggest loss in club history as well. So a pretty dark day for the footy club. How did you find it from a past player's perspective and watching it unfold with many mates in the team watching on as well?
Yeah, I mean, look, you can't sweeten this one. Like it was a poor performance. Started poorly. Tom Hickey got a couple of setting clearances at the start, and they kicked 2 goals in 90 seconds, and then they'd kicked 9 by the end of the first quarter. So. It clearly wasn't going well. I mean, from a playing perspective, look, I've been in some huge losses. I've played in huge losses. 135, my best. Didn't quite get the 170 done, but...
Who was 135 against?
Geelong, Subiaco.
On your home deck?
Yes.
That's big.
So...
Was that your little Cam Mooney moment as well?
Yeah, it was. Everyone loves that one. Never giving up. And I was just trying to, I don't know.
Trying to get a game the next week?
Yeah. So, look... overall, you can't break it down any other way that it was a complete, disembowelment of the team. But the positives without them, look, the crowd was interesting. Being there, Sydney fans, there was at least some enjoyment from that side. But from the West Coast point of view, and me as a player, former player, it's never something you want to see is either former teammates or even just guys playing for the footy club getting beaten like that, because I know how it feels. I've been there.
So the captain, Luke Shuey, was quoted as being quite emotional talking to his fellow teammates after the game, sort of talking about what the club has meant to so many people, inside the four walls there. He fronted the media on Monday. Let's listen to a few of his quotes.
It was disappointing to come off the bye and have a bit of a reset and talk about where we're going to improve and deliver that performance. Well, I think you're always playing for your club. We've always played for our club, and Simo coaches for his club, and we're all in it together. I reckon I've said 2 or 3 times in these press conferences this year that we've got his back. I don't know what more he could have done from the coaching box on a night where we let a team kick 200 points. We had a shocking day Saturday, but I can't wait for the next 9 games. I'm so excited because we need to be excited after a weekend like that. You need to look forward to your next challenge because you're only as good as your last game. So we get an opportunity to prove to people that that's not the side we are. There's an inability to execute on game day from a playing point of view. It's not Simo's fault. One of his greatest strengths is his ability to educate. And believe it or not, we've seen some little gains throughout the year that he's banged on about. I don't know how many times I can say it. It'll turn around soon, and I'm looking forward to, whether I'm here or not, watching these young guys hit their prime, and Simo probably still be coaching, and the club will be back up the top end of the ladder and won't be all as doom and gloom as what it is now.
Look, Luke's captain of the footy club, been at the club a long time, and he's been through good and bad too. So, look, he'd be certainly frustrated, but the emotion comes from, I don't think, sometimes when you're in the footy club and then outside it, no one cares about the footy club more than the people within these 4 walls. And the fans care, and the media and the public and all of this stuff, and past players and sponsors, I know they all care, but the players and the coaches, they're actually the ones that, they care the most. So when you're the leader of that team and what happens, you take it personally. And so that's where the emotion comes from. And certainly from, what he's been through, both from a professional, personal point, all of that would have really hurt him. And so as the leader, knowing Luke, he just would have wanted more. And when you don't get that, you're at a loss sometimes, aren't you? So disappointing from his point of view. They'll be looking for a response clearly. If you don't get a response from that, then you're asking what's going on.
The Swans were particularly impressive on the day as well. I mean, they smashed them in possessions and contested possessions as well. The inside 50s was plus 43. I don't remember it ever being that high in a game of footy since I've been at the footy club. The 9 scoring shots to 50 was quite alarming. But the tackles, so West Coast, 12 players had 1 or less tackle, and you'd have to think that's going to be the biggest point of emphasis because that's an effort thing, Sco.
Well, all of those stats, it's about the contest, actually. The effort word's a funny one. There's been a lot of coverage. I was on radio last night talking about it, people talking about effort. And my views on effort, I would be very surprised if West Coast Eagles players or any other player in the AFL doesn't give effort. the reason they lost on the weekend by how much, I don't think is effort. Look, there's reasons. Application to what you're trying to do, the contested brand, like winning one-on-ones. When you're in a situation like that, mentally, your mind does things that it shouldn't be doing, both as senior players, junior players, wherever you're at. You start to do things that you don't usually do, and it transpires and it looks like you're not trying, but I guarantee you they're trying. Like I hand on heart would say they are trying, but it turns into the effort just makes you look even stupider. You start losing your feet, you start missing tackles, aerial balls you can't spoil for some reason. You turn into sort of a different person when you're losing by that much, and then it compounds. I don't think it's effort. So, look, the contested side of the game, the one-on-ones, the ball in the middle, can you win it? They're all the stuff that I think they'd be focusing on. The tackling comes along with that, getting your mind straight.
It's more tough news on the injury front. We've got Elliott Yeo set for another stint on the sidelines. This time, he's got a hip complaint that we heard last night on the St John of God medical report, looking to miss another 3 to 4 weeks. Heartbreaking when you're seeing a superstar of the competition continually break down like he has in the last 4 years now, Scully. That's 90 games to this point in 3.5 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, so he's a prime mover of the club, obviously, and we haven't seen him enough in the last 4 years, effectively. So there's the team element. You're missing your best player. Like, he's two-time best and fairest winner. He's won one of those in a premiership year, All-Australian. He's a gun. So from the team element, you don't have your best player. From an individual element, like, he spent a lot of time in rehab, and you speak to anyone who's been in rehab, how mentally taxing that is. Yes, it's physically taxing and you're trying to get your body right. But
some say it's more physically taxing than when you're healthy.
Oh, absolutely. It's more physically taxing, but I tell you what, it's more mentally taxing than anything else you can do at a football club, because quite often you're there by yourself and it's you against you. And when it keeps repeating and you keep getting injured, and when it's different injuries as well, I guess, at least with the same injury, I guess you know what you're up for, but he's got different injuries going on, and you're right, his body's breaking down. So, look, apart from the physical element, I think mentally it must be extremely difficult for him and feeling for him at the moment.
He spoke about the club's current state earlier in the week on his spot on the 96 FM breakfast show. Let's have a listen.
We had our review yesterday, and there was some pretty horrific stuff in there. We're trying our absolute best. I mean, it probably doesn't look like it. There's been some comments that it was an embarrassing performance on the weekend, and it was. As I said, we played 9 kids on the weekend that have played under 20 games, and when I first got in the system, you know, there'd be maybe 1 or 2 kids in the team that were under that 20-odd games. So you'd kind of get sheltered a bit, and you'd get protected by a lot of the senior players that would be able to help you, guide you through. At the end of the day, you know, there's no place that I'd rather be to try and fight this out. I'm up for the fight. The younger kids we got coming through, they're absolute rippers, and they can play some football. So, you know, I love the football club. Yeah, absolutely love the football club. And how can we make our members proud? And we need our fans. And this is a time where we need our supporters, we need our fans to help us out.
Hoping to see him back on the park and display what we have seen in the last couple of weeks from Yoey. David King spoke on, I think it was First Take, on saying that the club should go back to giving up on system for a minute and just going back to your back shoulder, one-on-one, more simplistic game style, I guess, to prevent the massive blowouts and to see the one-on-one efforts. Tell me why that can be counterproductive for what we're trying to do and what we have seen in spurts.
Well, I've heard why don't you just go one-on-one, beat your man. And look, I fully understand that, because at times that's worked. But I guess what the problem is, the reason that the loss was so big and they've been losing is they can't beat their men one-on-one. So when you go one-on-one, you then don't have any help from anyone. So I think it accentuates the problem, because right now they're not beating their men one-on-one. If you say go one-on-one everywhere, suddenly there's no help. And the guys that beat their men, great, but then there's guys that can't do it. Now, you'll find out who they are, and you basically can't make it in the AFL if you can't beat someone one-on-one. So, but that's the problem right now. They're not doing that. So changing the game style to something else does that. And then the other part is, if they're trying to build a system and a structure and build for the future, like Simo's been saying, from Luke Shuey, and you go away from that, it's just short-term gain for not a lot of long-term success. And so I think that's what they're trying to build. You've you've got to take some of these big losses in order to teach guys, look, this is how we want to play, this is how we want to do it.
I'm with you on that one. We've had a couple of weeks in the shed, so we haven't had a moment to talk about Ryan Marrick, and he's come up with an all-time statistic, is the biggest cumulative loss total in 2 games, I think, from anyone in the AFL, 293 points.
It's quite large.
Which is tragic for a youngster to come in and do that, but besides from that, it took Cully, I think, half a season or about 7 weeks to round into some waffle form and get his opportunity to come in from the mid-season and perform at AFL level or to get a call up. He's had to come in straight off the bat and do it. So a tough initiation, but what have you seen thus far?
Well, I've seen someone who competes, and I've spoken to Adam Simpson on Ask Simo and asked him the same questions, and I think what they've been impressed with is the mentality. So to make it in the AFL, you need talent, yes. He clearly has that. He's kicked goals, he's taken marks. You don't need to do all that. But can you under adversity show resilience, beat your man, have the mentality to play? And by speaking to people and watching him, I think he does. So look, that's not a great record to hold right now, but it will turn at some point.
It was a big announcement with the footy department this week, with long-standing strength and conditioning manager Warren Kofed stepping down at the conclusion of the season. He's been sensational for the club after almost 15 years, was a big part of the 2 grand finals and premiership win. Scully, you would have worked very closely with him for the majority of your career. What are your fond memories of Kof, and what did he bring to a team that he kind of brought us out of the doldrums to a degree?
He absolutely did. I couldn't speak more highly of Kof. Was at the club when he came, and I can't remember exactly the year he started, but it was pretty close to the start of mine. Stu Cormack was the previous strength and conditioning coach before Kof. So
I want to say 09.
Yeah, I've been with him for a long time, and my biggest compliment would be he got the best out of myself physically, and that's what he was there to do.
Would a lot of players echo that sentiment?
So I was a running half back. I went from running half back to a heavy key position player, back out to a running half back to a heavy. I had to change my body composition because I was a role player. I used to slot into, I might play lockdown back pocket, and then Eric McKenzie, Mitch Brown go down. I have to put 10 kilos on and start playing on the big boys, and then I had to lose it again. That's all with Warren Kofed. So without a Kof, I don't do that. My career doesn't go how it goes. We don't win a premiership. I don't win a premiership. So there's a few people that I attribute to that premiership, and it's a whole club thing, but Warren Kofed would be right up there for me, given the impact that he has on players individually. Like he's been a terrific member of the footy club. Sad to see him go, but I'm sure he'll be bigger and better somewhere else.
A big search for the footy club to replace that role. Massive boots to fill. A big milestone on the weekend coming up. It's Liam Duggan's 150th game. Massive for the culture of this football club. He'll tick off the life membership. We want to see plenty more Duggos in this West Coast Eagles team, both mentally, physically, what he can bring. What are your recollections of Duggo as a teammate?
And his looks. I'd be happy to look like Duggo.
Tell me about it.
He's a very good looking man. Look, Duggo, I remember him coming to the footy club. He and Jacko Nelson arrived together.
Did you house him at some point?
Yeah, they definitely stayed the night at my house a few times.
They were never the same again.
Only better for it. Look, I remember taking them for a surf pretty early on, and just a really, and I was on the beach watching them surf. Liam Duggan was just a good bloke, and he picked that up as a 17, 18-year-old, and he's continued that on. But that's off the field. On the field, fierce competitor. You don't let the nicety surprise you and shadow what he's like on the field. Absolutely fierce competitor, hates getting beaten, does everything he needs to do to get better. Really has a little bit of that glaze come over when you get like that. I love that you're not going to beat me type glaze, and if someone's there to be hit, he'll hit him, and if he needs to lay the tackle, he does it. Premiership teammate.
Was touted leadership qualities in his second and third year, Scully. Always had that makeup about him.
Well, it was a cool, calm, collected stuff, I think. Off the field, nothing phases him really. Gets about his business. He's very much a level-headed leader. Think about guys like Matt Prittis, Shannon Hearn. Always does the right things from a preparation point of view. But then on the field is very consistent. So, look, he's found his way in and out of the midfield, but he's a backman. We know he's a backman.
You can have him, yeah.
Yeah, well, you can put him on the wing if you like, but he's a backman.
It's NAIDOC week kicking off this Sunday, and we will celebrate with the achievements of our First Nations people. At our match against the Saints, there'll be a Guard of Honour, which will feature the 2023 NAIDOC Perth Award winners. And at three-quarter time, there'll be a cultural dance going on the field with the Deadly Sister Girls, thanks to the Walich Foundation. Let's hope they'll be dancing in some good spirits, Scully, because the Saints, they're currently sitting in 5th. They have lost 2 on the bounce, but their availability is starting to pick back up, and it's going to be another massive challenge.
Yeah, the Saints are an interesting side. I don't think many people rated them as a top 8 contender coming into this season, but they've got the real Ross Lyon attributes. They defend well. They've also used the least amount of players, I believe, in the AFL, only 28 players or something to go through the list, a little bit different to West Coast this year.
Quite.
But that's also a Ross Lyon thing. He backs them in, he gives guys roles, and look, they're a really disciplined side, so I think it's going to be a really difficult matchup. Like you said, coming off 2 games losing, they'll be looking to bounce back, but we do have them on our home deck, and it'll be interesting to see how they go.
Jack Williams is a test for his rolled ankle on the weekend, which was subbed out for. On the better side of things, we've got Cripps and Hearn, who are on the cusp of a return.
Big returns.
But you lose Petreski-Seaton with a quad injury, and it looks like he tried to play bravely through that against the Swans.
Could not run. He could not run. And so, yeah, I mean...
Kind of one of his strengths.
Yeah, so, look, guys that do that, we've seen different guys across Jack Darling with his arm, and guys that are willing to put themselves back out there injured. Unfortunately, it's been too regular, but... they're team guys when they do stuff like that, and again, that's a disappointing thing to talk about, having to go out there injured, but I'm hoping he comes back quite soon.
Do you think we need to temper expectations on Cripps' impact straight off the bat, missing something like 12 weeks?
Sure, I mean, broken leg, right?
Broken ankle, yes.
Yeah, ankle, leg, similar things.
Might have come back through the waffle had situations been different with availability. Coming straight back into AFL side?
One thing you can't question with Jamie Cripps is his preparation and his ability to run. So broken ankle, broken leg, I think he'll still find himself in a pretty good... I remember speaking to him 2 months ago, he said I'm ready to go, so which is ridiculous, obviously. But Cripps and Hearn, yeah, they bring quality, but they bring leadership, both of them. Jamie Cripps a really strong vocal leader in the forward line, and Shannon Hearn the same down back.
What about the fans this Sunday, Scully? You've heard stories of boycotting first quarters and, ripping up membership passes and whatnot. How important is it to want to see a good turnout? All well and good to be back slapping in 2018 and when you're flying towards top 4s and 8s. What about in this time of despair and the fan support you basically need as a footy club? Yeah,
I'm not sure on those ones. I'm not quite sure what that would achieve. Do understand frustration as fans. I'll probably go back to my point earlier on about... if you think the players, the coaches, the support staff, people in media, people at the football club don't care, or I think you'd find yourself pretty mistaken. In my time at the footy club and then now out of it, and I'm in media, so I'm in and amongst the footy world, I just don't think anyone cares more than the people at this club. So the players would be absolutely brutally hurt. Adam Simpson, brutally hurt. They want to respond. So as fans... get around them. No, it's difficult. You make the point. It had it pretty good, but you know what? Being a fan's emotional too. So you got to understand how that all sits as well. But get around the boys. I'm sure they want to put a better performance than last week out for you.
Well, we're hoping to see a quality turnout this Sunday at 2:40. Bounce down against the Saints. Plenty of fun activities going on in the fan zone. You got, for the start of the school holidays, it's inside Gate D, silent discos, face painters, competitions, a few of the players coming down for autographs, you name it, they got it. And of course, Aussie taking flight at 2:20. Always a spectacle you don't want to miss. Scully, that's it for this week's episode of Inside Swoop, courtesy of Jim Beam. See if you can just keep your Eagle scarf on this weekend and refrain from opposition paraphernalia for just one more week.
Do your deal. Keep it under 200 points against, and I'll keep it on.
Deal.